Hi, I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. Sorry, I find it a little funny. I'm going to read through this article. Got now I've got a couple of different plans for today. A couple of things that I wanted to that I want to achieve. The first one is, now keep in mind I haven't read through this article properly. I've just heard about it. I read the headline, started reading it, thought I'm going to read through the whole thing with I'm going to read through it all and give you my take on it as I read it. And the second thing I think I'm going to do is call a lawyer. If this article is what I think it is, I think I might be it might be worthwhile getting a lawyer. So let's read this together. It's yeah, let's go. QPS, as I've said before, never fail. They never fail to bring they never fail to mess up. Here, from The Guardian. This is in a few different sites anyway. It's all over the interweb at the moment. Queensland Police bungle could render hundreds of officer misconduct rulings invalid. So I saw this came out late last night. I hadn't read it properly, but let's go. So the Queensland Police Service may be forced to revoke sanctions against hundreds of officers, including police sacked or demoted for serious misconduct, after the State Court of Appeal ruled the force's current practice for instigating disciplinary proceedings was not valid. Interesting. Sources say more than 300 formal internal disciplinary proceedings against police officers could be invalidated or subject to potential legal challenge as a result of the court ruling. So first off, I'll continue on first. So a 12-month time limit introduced in 2019 to fast track the police discipline process would prevent most of those cases from being pursued again. That's very interesting. I never knew about this 12-month fast track. I sure as heck was not told that by the police union. Now I was stood down at the very beginning of October 2021. My resignation went through on the 15th of October 2022. It was over 12 months. If someone had said to me, hey, they've got 12 months, I wouldn't have resigned. I had no intention of resigning. But the advice that I was given by the union was, it's not going to make a difference. They're still pursuing people. And they're still pursuing people. You're not going to be let back in. And even if they overturn the mandate, they will still pursue you for disciplinary action, which after 12 months, I was not in the mood for. Anyway, going on, it says it could mean cops who should not be anywhere near a uniform could end up with no punishment back in uniform, or it will cost them millions of dollars to prevent that from happening, a police source said. Well, that's a very one-eyed way of looking at it, isn't it? I wonder who that police source is. Yeah. In a statement to Guardian Australia on Tuesday, police confirmed they were now reviewing all discipline matters affected by the decision and would provide information and support to victims associated with affected matters. Victims associated with affected matters. Well, considering I consider myself, not that I would play a victim, but I think I am a victim of Queensland Police Service and their stupidity and their need to overreach into my personal life and try and force a medical procedure upon me. And there's a few other people that I believe would feel the same because they were put in the same situation as I. Yeah, I think I'm a victim of QPS. Anyway, of particular concern are cases involving officers who were considered a danger to their colleagues. After Guardian Australia sent questions on Tuesday, the police commissioner, Katarina Carroll, sent an email to all police staff referring to the decision. She says, I acknowledge this news will be very difficult for some members of our organisation to understand and accept, and I want to encourage you to seek support if needed, she wrote. The ruling relates to cases considered serious enough to warrant the appointment of a prescribed officer to run a formal disciplinary process or hearing, including those where officers were sacked, demoted, or otherwise sanctioned after being found to have committed serious misconduct or criminal conduct. It's funny because, going 12 months without pay, without being paid by the QPS, stood down 2 weeks with pay, then the rest of the time, no, son, because you don't want to undergo a medical procedure, no pay for you. So, 12 months, no pay. It's awesome. I wonder whether, including officers who were sacked, demoted, or otherwise sanctioned, I think that might include me, after being found to have committed serious misconduct or criminal conduct. The trouble is, I wasn't found to have committed anything. They were supposed to be undergoing there's an investigation undergoing. I actually listened to the interview that I sat in, the interview that was conducted with me and the investigating officers just the other day. I found it, come across it on my USB. I was thinking about releasing it for everyone to have a listen to, so you could hear exactly what goes on in some of these, the farce that's made of officers who have to sit through while they, this investigating the seriousness of your refusing to be used as a pincushion. Anyway, so last week, the Queensland Court of Appeal ruled in favour of 2 police officers, Detective Senior Sergeant David Cousins. David Cousins. And Sergeant William Johnson, who successfully argued that disciplinary proceedings against them had not been brought correctly. The court heard that a delegate for Carroll had referred unrelated disciplinary allegations about Cousins and Johnson to an unspecified prescribed officer at the Office of State Discipline. The Court of Appeal ruled unanimously that the process was invalid because the delegate failed to appoint a specific police officer to act as the prescribed officer. Wow. It appears from the material that the current practice of the Queensland Police Service is that the commissioner or her delegate make referrals, and then officers within the Office of State Discipline decide which officer will start the disciplinary proceeding. Justice Jean Dalton said, the Police Service Administration Act does not give the Office of State Discipline or the officers working in that office power to decide which of them will start the disciplinary proceeding. The Act gives power to the Commissioner or her delegate to do that. The court's finding that the invalid process was apparently common practice for the Queensland Police Service could have serious implications for any disciplinary proceedings that were investigated via a similar referral. Employment lawyer Susan Moriarty said officers whose matters were ongoing could seek an injunction to the Supreme Court. Moriarty said police whose sanctions had been finalised previously could apply to the court for a declaration that the disciplinary process was ultra Virus, I don't know how you pronounce that. A legal term meaning beyond one's legal authority. Oh my goodness. The appropriate remedies for those officers will be the filing of applications asking the court to determine the penalty to be null and void, Moriarty said. Who is this Susan Moriarty? My goodness, Susan, you're my new hero. No guesses for who I'm going to be contacting today. Police would then have to recommence those processes. So, in case where the disciplinary process began more than a year ago, understood to be the vast majority of those potentially affected, police would be prevented from reinstating sanctions by the 12-month time limit to investigations. So, hold it. In cases where the disciplinary process began more than a year ago, understood to be the vast majority of those potentially affected, police would be prevented from reinstating sanctions by the 12-month time limit to investigations. It's funny, like I said before, the people who are supposed to help you and look after you and give you good advice and direct you in these situations, the Queensland Police Union, they didn't give me any of this. They didn't tell me about any of this. This 12-month time limit to investigations. They didn't advise of any of that. The Queensland Police discipline system was heavily criticised last year during an inquiry into police responses to domestic and family violence after hearings revealed the widespread use of local management resolution in cases where officers had engaged in racism, sexism, or sexual harassment. So I'm just wondering how all this is going to play out. Going on in this thing. So I'm saying all this because this seems to be, as they said, they've always engaged in a mismanagement or the use of the local management resolution. At the inquiry, Carol admitted the discipline system was broken. Unfortunately, she says these things, but she's been a part of this discipline system for a long time, and she could have changed. She could have been on the cutting edge of changing it for a long time, but she doesn't want to because that system has helped her get where she is. When she got there and feigned those tears for when she supposedly, allegedly, she says she was a victim of some issues. Like I said to some other people, she'd been in a position of high authority within the Queensland Police Service for a long time. She could have been making noise about that situation when she was, as soon as she became an inspector, but never heard of it. She never mentioned it until she's sitting there and the pressure is on under this other investigation, and then it's like, oh, well, wait up, I'm a victim as well. Anyway, it's what else can you say about that? Go back here. At the inquiry, Carol admitted the discipline system was broken. The inquiry ultimately recommended the establishment of a civilian-controlled police integrity unit, which remains under consideration by the state government. Remains under consideration. They could have done that. Literally a week after this recommendation was done, they should have been right on top of that. Yeah, we'll do that straight away. And yet how many months later? It's still under consideration by the state government. Because the state government, Palaszczuk knows that there's issues with the police leadership. She knows that Katerina is not a good leader. She's not even a leader. She is a manager. She manages situations, which is a big problem within Queensland Police Service in general. All managers, no actual leaders, no one who would actually lead you into battle. All the leaders are still, sergeants and senior connies. Anyway, responding to questions from Guardian Australia, a police spokesman spokesperson said the QPS was reviewing all discipline matters which may be impacted as a result of a recent Court of Appeal decision. Just to make it easy if you look me up when you're looking at my discipline matter. 4029 among other matters, the Independent Assessment Committee will carefully consider options in respect of members who had been separated from a particular workplace in consideration of the safety and well-being of all members. The QPS is conscious that victims associated with affected matters. I'm a victim of QPS, as I keep saying. And I don't know a few others who would consider themselves a victim of QPS, a victim of Katarina. Let's get back to it. Okay. Conscious that victims associated with affected matters will be impacted and information and support will be offered. The service will continue to exhaust all available options to ensure that complaints are adequately dealt with. Well, there you go. Can QPS, can the organization, can they do anything right? It's as funny as, the video that they brought out for April Fool's Day. And it was a cute little video. It's funny. And I probably thought it was funny because because I knew the dude on the paddleboard. So I'd worked with him. So yeah, it's funny. But a friend of mine had a bit of a rant, and he's like, instead of going out there and making silly videos, can't you get all your ducks in a row and organize yourself? I'll paint a better picture than what he was saying it a little nicer. There's so many other things that you need to take care of, and yet you're spending all this money making videos of coppers getting out there and paddle boards. And he's right. You look at articles like this, and it does make you think so many things that QPS need to take care of, and they're not taken care of. They can't even take care of disciplinary matters properly. I was subpoenaed the other week. They were all making such a big deal about it, and I'd have to be flying down to Brisbane, possibly. I'd have to be doing this on my days off. Everything was getting thrown in the air. I'm like, man, what is going on? They make such a big deal out of it. And then right at the last minute, old mate called me. Oh, no, Jay. Yeah, nah. It's all been panned. It's all been canned. They've just taken the statements from you guys, and you're not going to be needed now. And I'm just like, mate, these fellas, and not him, not the officer I was dealing with, but all the others, QPS, they just can't organize anything. They can't get anything right. Can't even discipline people properly. I'm going to go through this again. I'm going to try and check out some other stuff, to do with this legal matters. Any coppers out there, anyone who thinks that they might be affected by this, can you please let me know what you think? Whether you think how it's going to affect you, is this going to affect you? How will it affect you? What you see the recourse will be for yourself. Let me know. I'm going to read through all this again, and it's going to be interesting times. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.